and good evening. It's scene 4, Empire of Thorns. So, Az brought Nymeria to her own court, which she was not very familiar with. She's very new to the courts, and although she's been introduced to the king, although there's been a very brief kind of exchange of who you are, this nature, all that good stuff, she didn't really get to meet anyone, really. And the courtiers tend to keep to themselves in the summer court until you really kind of get into a niche with them. So she's had a little bit of trouble
I just said okay.
with her own court, kind of fitting in, especially given her privileges. But seeing her behavior and what arose, they thought it best to bring her back to her court, like, fix it! Unfortunately, the king was not who they decided that she needed to see. They decided that the constable of Calfaction, also basically the sheriff of the freeholds, was probably the more appropriate person. King was a bit serious. That she hasn't gotten herself out of good graces enough for that. So she's brought to Lord Devon.
Okay.
He is he's a man that where he stands, basically it's very hard not to look at him. He commands the presence in the room. Although he is a little bit thinner, a tall man, he's very wry. He's got a lot of that lean, snappy muscle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's got a sword at his hip that is right now he has peace tied. He's wearing basically trousers, neat boots, a white shirt, a couple of buttons undone. His hair is pulled back into a ponytail. And he'll look up at your character as she's brought into the room. He's got a stack of papers in his hand. Your character notices that on the walls and things like that, he has the markings of a private investigator, mortally. And he'll kind of put them down, and he'll sit down, and he'll motion for her to sit at a chair. That wasn't a request, and she can tell.
Okay, she'll sit.
He'll look at your character and he'll tilt his head and he'll say, "Why were you brought to me?"
I was told I needed to be. She pauses for a second, like she's thinking for the word. Educated.
And what are you ignorant in?
According to the pretty one, human ways, he said.
I see. How old were you when you were taken?
And she's thinking. 16.
And you managed to make it to 16 with being ignorant in the ways of the common world.
She nods.
Did your parents not care for you? Were you not given an education?
She shakes her head. I don't know.
You don't remember your time before your durance.
And she shakes her head.
He'll close his eyes as though the frustration is almost too much for him to bear. Fair enough. What action did you take that clued our friends in that you were uneducated to our common ways?
I was hunting.
And what were you hunting?
The men that were our human.
He'll close his eyes as though the mounting headache that you've brought him is growing. He'll rub his temples for a moment. You were hunting humans.
And she nods.
When one is speaking to a child, there are times in which you tell a child, no, you don't do that. And they ask why and you don't explain. It's just a fact and you don't do it. Don't hunt humans.
She kind of looks taken aback, like by how emphatic he is, but then she nods. I've heard others tell me this.
Others don't have the ability to punish you for it. I do. I am sympathetic to your position to a point. There are morals and behaviors that even children should know. You don't soil yourself, do you? You have the good senses to use proper and sanitary facilities, correct?
I was shown these.
That's a migraine. He's got a migraine. He rubs his forehead.
She's used to going in the ocean, I mean, honestly.
He'll close his eyes and just... I don't expect you to be an Eliza Doolittle. I'm not expecting you to be able to be a presentable woman at the Ascot. But there are specific societal norms, and homicide, and if I understand it correctly, cannibalism, are not two specific societal norms. And you are, as I understand it, quite vocal with your opinions. That's all he could think to say about that. It just kind of trails into a ... of... It's like a cat.
Can I make a, oh, never mind, she just won't understand because she's an elemental, she don't understand.
You're going to obviously need time to adjust to being back in the real world. That's evident and quite apparent. And I, and by extension of myself, the court, will give you that time. But I expect you to improve your behavior. And if I continue to hear reports of cannibalism and homicide, and as I understand it, stalking, and you're really starting to rack up some major felonies here. Well, not.
She goes, stalking? What is that?
It's when you follow someone unbidden.
She thinks, the pretty one? I was just making sure she was safe.
He'll soften a little bit. Apparently there is some mercy to the man. Well... Do you mean Iris West?
Is she the one that paints? That she get as art?
He'll think for a moment. And, give me a second. Get it! Get it! He'll say, the one that was seen earlier having lunch with Claudia Donati.
She shakes her head. I don't know.
Apparently, she has caught the eye of the High Sirs.
Her head is like at 90-degree angle right now. Her head is tilting so far sideways.
He'll tilt his head a tiny bit in that direction, and then he'll tilt his head in the other direction, see if he can get her to tilt her head that way.
She'll be like a cat. She'll like move her head and with it.
Good to know. What is your conflict?
Her eyes kind of dart from side to side. Conflict?
Well, unless something caught your eye to send your neck into such feats of dexterity, I imagine something I said threw you off.
I do not know these people you are referring to. I'm assuming this one you speak of is Iris, but I do not know this Claudio, so I cannot confirm.
Claudio is the vizier to King Varan and High Sirs. He is the head among the Sirs of the Spring Court. He is a man of some considerable power, and as I understand it, if rumor is correct, he and Miss Iris are, well, they were spotted together in the Goblin Market earlier, shopping and sharing a meal, and
her eyes actually flash red for a second. Like just barest flicker of a second.
I don't know if either are smitten with one or the other, but I would take caution in referring to her as the pretty one and following her. If Lord Donati has taken an interest in her.
She nods, but if you like roll perception empathy at all, or just have any empathy, you can tell she's like thinking about it still.
Yeah, let's roll it for him. Yeah, that's a lot. That's so much. And he blew up, so hold on. What? So go on.
Yeah, he just can tell she's still thinking about it. She agreed not to, but she's definitely thinking about it. Like, she's trying to figure out why. And there's also a slight hint of betrayal there. In fact, you hear her mutter under her breath, and I even gave her a pigeon.
He'll, damn it, Joey. He'll tilt his head again slightly. To be honest, what it is out of game, wrath, sowing so much wrath. Don't fuck with the Constable of Calfaction. No one can spread scandal like him. Sow those little seeds. Sow them. He just blinks innocently, as though he doesn't understand why you're angry. So, where did you go? You're muted, Joey. as we wait for the other player. Let's play a trivia game. Multiple question. Who is the longest standing member of the court? The Lord Scrivener of the Autumn Court, Claudio Donati, Queen Cerise, or Will Morgan? Find out next time on Pauses and See. Is your night boring? Do you have nothing to do? Why then head out to Four Seasons, where the rums bump and the boobies bounce. Four Seasons, the only place where you can see a preacher's daughter spinning to sweet transvestite. Ah, yeah. The Summer Court wants you. They want you for killing. They want you for wrath. They want you for all things that are considered Summer Court things. Summer Court things. The Summer Court, brought to you by Summer. Yay! I could only do so many of these commercials before I end the scene. My dear viewers, if Joey does not return back in 1 minute, I will end the scene. There's a problem with this scene. It started with a man. Great man. And you know who that man was? John Cena! Da, da, da. Well, we have lost our other player, and so therefore I must end the scene. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry for this technical difficulty. Goodbye.